home, I'm going to be home. I'm not balanced when I'm home with my wife. I'm not sitting with her at dinner thinking about all my work stuff. Work-life balance is not the issue. Navigating the paradox of fatherhood, husbandhood, whatever you want to call that, and work, that's a real challenge. And there's no balance in there per se. It's how do I navigate these alternative lifestyles at the same over time, not at the same time. Some people do that by career. They say, when I retire, I'll care about my family. Well, that's asinine. They have no family. Some try to do that every day. I find I have to do it about every week or month. So I look at the end of the week and I say, wow, I love my work. Did I do too much this week? And if yes, then I navigate back to the other pieces the next week.
That is, and that's, again, part of that is exactly what you just said. I find it hard to switch off because normally, you know, I'll come home and unfortunately the computer will go back on and I'm back in the rabbit hole again of work. So kind of what I've done now is that whenever I get home now, I at least sort of dedicate 2 or 3 hours where I'm just, normally I'd walk into my office and at home and carry on. Now I just kind of just completely separate that, leave my phone in another room and just spend 2 or 3 hours with my wife and the baby and just uninterrupted time. And I find that by doing that, it just gives me, as I said, it just gives me so much more energy that when I go back to work or to that new project or that video edit, I have so much more energy and I'm so much more clear on what I want to do. So it just recharges me. But it is a habit that I need to build on now because, again, I'll go home and I have to consciously go, oh, no, Chris, don't do that. Come on. You know, I've been doing it for so long now, Dave, that it's hard to change that habit of continuing to work all the time.
By the way, I have the same pathology. Work is seductive. It's a cocoon in which I can find great peace and great joy. But I need to navigate that. I need to say, okay, I need to put that on the side. And as your daughter gets older, you can begin to multitask. One of the things, we had 3 kids, and my wife Wendy reminds me of it. For about 5 years at Christmas, when our kids were, I don't know, probably 4, 7, and 9, for about 4 years, I would give my wife a Christmas gift of taking the children, we celebrate Christmas, from Christmas to New Year's Day. So we'd open some family gifts and we'd go get on an airplane and go somewhere. We went to a dude ranch. We went to California Beach. And I gave my wife a week with no children. And that was really fun. And then once a year, I made a decision. I will take each of my kids with me on a business trip. So when the kids were 8, 9, or 10, I'd call ahead either to the hotel or to a church that we're part of and say, do you have somebody who can watch my daughter from 7:30 to 5? And the client, this is probably a horrible thing to confess, I'd say, you know, I got commitments tonight at dinner. So I quit at 5, reasonably early for me. And my daughter and I would hang out that night. And I did that with each of my kids once a year, which I thought was just, by the way, they don't remember any of it at this point.
I was going to ask you that. So they remember?
None whatsoever. Or the other thing.
It'd be a cool experience.
Well, the other thing I did that was fun, I don't know if you or Robin's parents are alive, is I'd call my mother, and I think we had this discussion. I grew up relatively modest. I wasn't poor, but it was a modest family. And I'd say, Mom, would you like to go to Hong Kong for a week? And she goes, well, yeah, why not? And so the deal was, I'm in Hong Kong, watch my 3 kids. and I'm going to work. And then at night, we'll go do something as a family. And I took Mom on. Now, she does remember. She's now 90. And she said, do you remember those trips to Hong Kong and Amsterdam and Singapore? And I thought, oh, that was, again, I don't know if the kids remember an event, but they remember the feeling. And so anyway, I think you'll find ways to do that as your daughter grows and as you continue to have that passion.
Those are the things you don't think about when you're planning to have a child. Is those were things that didn't come to mind, which I feel I should have, and have been priority of what does my life now look like? How does this fit into? Because especially now, you know, running a startup, I'm actually even more strapped for time than I was if I was in a traditional 9-to-5 business. I actually would have more time doing that. And I've made multiple decisions over the last few weeks and months now to change my my lifestyle to accommodate for this new reality that I live in. Even, you know, moving our office closer to home. So originally I was an hour and 20 commute into central London, near London Bridge. And now I moved our office closer to home. So now I'm a 10-minute bike ride away from
Wow.
my wife and Robin. And it's changed my life, just not having to commute 3 hours a day and being able to spend that quality time with them. That's made a massive difference, an absolutely massive difference.
We've worked together some. You have many talents and gifts, some of which I'm sure I don't even know, but you're very creative. And once you get into your head, I'm going to be creative around X. And if X is time with family or personal time, my sense is you'll find, I think I'm reasonably creative. I just shared some of the things I did. You'll find some of the same things. And and they'll be different for you than me. Forget everybody else's advice. Create your own pathway. No success matters if you failed in your home. And
I'm with you, yeah.
That's totally true. Because some marriages don't work. Sometimes kids don't work well. So I get that. But success in the home life really gives a sense of peace. Mm-hmm. And I love the way you said it. At Michigan, I'd been there for a few years and I didn't get tenure. And that was quite painful for a whole host of reasons. And I go home and my kids don't care. My wife doesn't care. And it's so nice to have a place where you have an anchor, even when things may not go well at business. Yeah. That's a very nice thing.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? And that's why I love, when I get home, it's not about, I'm trying to make it like no work at all. So it's kind of that clear barrier between the both. So nice. When I go home, that's where I recharge and re-energize. And again, I think by doing that as well, some of my best insights and creative moments happen in those times where I'm not distracted by everything else and the noise all around me. And I maybe just have that quality time just to think away from the phone, away from social media, away from email, just time to just sit there and just be in the moment and reflect. Some of the biggest challenges you've had as a company have been solved in those moments where I'm not in the work, if that makes sense.
I totally agree. That's the work Chris Altizer and others have done around mindfulness is just, in fact, I find I'm in the middle of some complicated business stuff right now. And my wife says, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I said, I'm not going to do anything for a day or 2 days. In other words, it just sits there.
Yeah.
And then some answers begin to come if I don't push it. And I think that's one of the benefits of family is it's not a distraction. It's actually a benefit.